Okay, we're going to get going here. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner McConnell.
Here.
Commissioner Tamian.
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Here.
Commissioner Dunn.
Here.
Commissioner Rushing.
Present.
Commissioner Graytop.
Here.
Chairperson Bohm.
Here. Additions, deletions, changes to the agenda. I am actually going to take two items and move them up. They're going to be the presentations because they came from a long ways today and they've got to get home. So we're going to move items 11A and B. We're going to do that as a 7A. So we're going to do that between 7 and 8 to add those two presentations.
Between 7 and 8 or between 6 and 7?
Nope. We'll just do it right after the consent agenda. We'll call it 7A, subtopic A and B. Do I have a,
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we're going to move on. Minutes of previous meetings, items A through C.
I move that we approve and file the minutes of the March 15th commission meeting, the March 29th special meeting, and the April 5th standing committee meetings.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? No proclamations. 7A through G on the consent agenda.
That's one that I need to do, but I think under proclamations, didn't you have a birthday announcement this evening?
I forgot whose birthday it was.
Commissioner Dunn?
Oh, Commissioner's done.
Commissioner
59 years old, too, just for the record.
59 young. I
Yeah.
can't believe
All
that.
right. Well, hold on now.
I heard it was 30 now.
Happy birthday to you. Thanks.
Happy birthday to
You. Happy birthday, dear Duke. Happy birthday to you. All right, all right.
Thank you very much.
Little housekeeping
My
details.
birthday doesn't fall on a commission meeting.
I would
All
make
right.
a motion to approve items 7A through 7G on the consent agenda.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we're going to move up to the Inbridge presentation. Laura?
Well, thank you all for letting us come speak tonight. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Laura Hampshire, and I am a community engagement advisor with Enbridge. I'm based out of our Chicago region office just over the border in Indiana, but I represent the lower portion of Michigan, so I'm here almost every week. And my colleague Brian Buck is here, and he is our operations manager for this area based out of Bay City. So I'm going to speak with you a little bit high level about Enbridge, but then we'll get more into this particular area and a proposed project that we have. So this is a little bit about our footprint here in North America. So we are an energy transportation company primarily, but we also distribute and generate energy as well. We're primarily a midstream company, so we don't own the product that we transport. We just transport it and get paid a toll from point A to point B. We merged with Spectra Energy in 2017, which really expanded our footprint in the U.S. That's the blue lines up there, and they do have some assets here within the state of Michigan. We're headquartered in Calgary, but we operate in 41 of the 50 states in the U.S. And have been doing so in the state of Michigan for a little over 65 years. So just a little bit more about our primary pillars of business. So liquids makes up a vast majority of our business. We have a little over 16,000 miles of active pipeline. Natural gas, we transport about 15 to 20% of North America's gas needs through our infrastructure. But we also are heavily investing in renewables. So we're the second largest wind and solar company in Canada and are expanding within the United States and offshore as well. And then we have gas distribution businesses that we directly deliver to homes in Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, and New York. But then getting a little bit closer to home here in Michigan, so we operate 4 major liquids assets within the state, and then we have one joint partnership with DTE and a natural gas line, so that'll be Vector. That runs from our Griffith terminal and then crosses under the St. Clair River and goes over to Sarnia. We have 2 lines going to Toledo and Detroit respectively from our Stockbridge terminal. And then 6B as well goes along that vector, the same right-of-way, and also crosses over under the St. Clair River over into Sarnia. And then Line 5, which is what I'll be talking a little bit more about today, starts at our Superior terminal, goes through the UP, crosses under the Straits of Mackinac, traverses the Lower Peninsula, and then crosses over in Marysville over into Sarnia. And so just quickly about how this asset contributes to the Michigan's energy picture. So it transports NGL and light crude oil. So at our Rapid River facility in the UP, NGL gets stripped off and goes to the Plains refinery. We meet about 65% of the propane use in the UP, 55% statewide. We take on about 80% of the Michigan produced crude oil at our Lewiston station, about 14,000 barrels per day. And then more locally, 130,000 barrels per day get taken off at our Marysville metering station. And then that goes to PBF refinery, Toledo, and Toledo BP, Toledo, and Detroit Marathon refineries. The remaining 70% goes over to Sarnia to 4 refineries over there. And then we actually get refined product back. They have a line that feeds back into the state of Michigan. So there's a lot of touch points that we feel like this provides, a lot of value to people here within the state of Michigan. So we talked a little bit about the propane use and how we transport local crude oil on that Line 5. We also continually are upgrading our line. We spent about $75 million in 2014 and 2016. That number is going to increase exponentially, but just to say that we are continuing to invest in advanced technology to make sure that we're protecting the communities in which we are traversing and contributing to. Other numbers up there are different expenses and contributions we have in with growth, so on ongoing operations and capital expenditure, or administrative expenditures rather, all within the state of Michigan. We also pay about a little over $60 million in property taxes. That's our 2017 number, that's statewide. And then for 2016, we were about $2.8 million within St. Clair County specifically. And then we have a pretty substantive community investment program, about $500,000. So we have seen some of those within the county and plan to continue that, especially through the course of this project that I will be talking about. So some of you may have heard in the news, we've entered into an agreement with the state of Michigan, specifically about the future of Line 5. It's been very a contested asset of ours, and we really have heard the concerns of people throughout the state, from the top level, but also from local communities, and are looking to come to an agreement that really is focused on collaboration and coordination and addressing people's concerns and making everyone feel safer about an asset that we feel contributes to the energy picture. So there's 7 pillars of that agreement that I'll kind of walk through quickly here. Some of them are about the Straits of Mackinac, so we won't talk too much about those, but we are looking at a replacement of this asset under the Straits of Mackinac. So we're doing feasibility studies that'll come out in June. We have weather restrictions to shut down the line. We're also have a stewardship program with the state of Michigan to look at new technologies to protect against anchor strikes and other evaluations of underground infrastructure that not only will benefit us, but presumably other infrastructure within the state. We're also assessing a lot of other inland water body crossings. And what's more relevant to this area, which I'll get into a little bit here in my remaining time, is we are proposing to replace Line 5 underneath the St. Clair River, and that permitting process has begun. And overall, just looking to increase coordination and be more transparent in our communication with the state of Michigan, but also on the local community level. So specifically in the, specifically in the St. Clair River crossing. So just to let you guys know, this pipe Well, it was put in 1953. By all federal regulations and all of our internal assessments, the line is absolutely safe to continue to operate as is. We have no integrity concerns with the pipeline as it is located right now. However, per the agreement with the state of Michigan, this was a stipulation of the agreement to be proactive. This is the other connection to the Great Lakes in the state of Michigan, and so it was a feeling of the governor and one that Enbridge agreed to, that we need to take proactive measures to go ahead and replace this before any integrity concern with that line ever arose. So right now you can see this is obviously just kind of a representative illustration, but the current pipe is essentially sitting along the bed. It's about 4 feet beneath the river surface. As we are proposing through HDD, which I'll talk about, it'll be about 30 feet under. So you're taking out a lot of the external and mechanical interfaces that are a potential with the pipeline. So here's some pictures of what an HDD is. So it's horizontal directional drill. Essentially, you have a drill rig, you go underneath the bed of the river, back and forth until you have a hole or a tunnel slightly larger than the diameter of the pipeline. That drill rig will be stationed on this side in the Marysville area. The pipe is pre-welded and then strung through. So the pipe will be on the Canadian side and we'll string it through. This is best practice. The vector line and the 6B that I talked about are both HDD under the St. Clair River, along with other assets, just because it is the safest methodology to use. It also is the least environmental impact of any replacement project that we would be doing. Like I said, it takes away kind of the human error. It's brand new pipeline with a higher thickness, and we'll also be replacing the valves on both sides. So it's just new technology all around on both sides of the river. And then there'll obviously be local economic impacts. We will be having a contractor. We always try to hire locally and contribute as much as we can to the local economy through any project. This is an aerial shot, so the green line to the north is the existing line 5. So it goes across River Road, like I said, in the Marysville area over to Broomfield, Ontario, and about 1,100 feet south of that is the existing 6B. We are planning to replace in the same corridor and utilize existing Enbridge-owned right-of-way. It's going to be about 3,300 feet of replaced pipe, 1,500 feet on the U.S. side and 1,800 feet on the Canadian side. It's a 30-inch pipeline. There's no material changes with this replacement, so no permanent right-of-way will be developed. There's no condemnation that we foresee in this project. There's no increase in pipe diameter and no increase in capacity. It is just a replacement project of the existing infrastructure. And then land requirements, like I said, will all be to the best. For design right now, we're using existing property, so no permanent land will be needed. We're already working with the adjacent landowners and are working on plans to mitigate just any disturbance during construction. So, and we'll also have obviously safety plans and security plans that we'll be working with the local city. Once the pipeline is replaced, we will deactivate the existing line, so it will be cleaned, purged of any product, cut and capped. We don't remove lines because there's too much environmental disturbance with that. And we do continue to monitor and provide cathodic protection to any of our deactivated lines, so we're still a responsible owner of the line, even though it doesn't transport anything after decommissioning. This project is a replacement project, so while typically with a new construction we'd have to get permitting through the Michigan Public Service Commission, we have reached out to them and notified them of this project, but there's no agreement necessary. But we are working with the International Boundary Commission and primarily the city of Marysville for any permitting. And per the agreement, we did that all by the end of February, but we'll continue to be interfacing with these permitting agencies as we get more final design. We'll also be doing a full environmental protection plan for construction as well as deactivation and any restoration to make sure that we are taking care of the surrounding environment. And just to wrap up, kind of an overall schedule, because that's the question of when is this going to happen. I'm here very early on in the process. We're just in the design schedule. We are doing field studies right now. We have a boat on the water this week doing studies of the ground so we can make the best assessment for design. But really, we are at the hands of the Canadian regulatory process. This does have to go through a full NEB process on the Canadian side. We plan to submit that application in July, and then fall 2019, we're looking at NEB approval. This is all speculative at this point, but we're looking at a construction phase within the winter of 2020, and then presumably a pipeline in service within the spring. Construction will last about 4 months. The drilling itself takes about 2 to 3 weeks, but on either side, we have to do staging and then restoration on the back end. Yeah, so the last thing I want to say is we are just trying to make ourselves available. So thank you again for the opportunity to come and speak. While we're early on in the process, we're happy to always answer questions or speak to whomever wants to hear it in the community, just so that everyone can have information accessible to them. So my contact information is up there, so feel free if anyone has questions afterwards to reach out to me, and I will be.
Commissioners, Mr. Graytop?
Just two quick questions. One, what is the depth of the straits up in Mackinac for Line 5, and what's the depth in the St. Clair River, depth of the water?
So I know in the Straits of Mackinac, it's about 260 feet, I think, at the deepest point. And which it's much shallower in the St. Clair River, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I have an idea of that one.
Okay.
And my last question was, when you put pipelines in the ground, you pay taxes on those. When you put a new pipeline in and leave the old one in there, what happens to the tax base on that?
You know, that is a really good question. I'm not sure what the tax situation is on deactivated infrastructure, and I don't want to make any assumptions without checking, but that's a great question, and I will follow up on that and see what that would look
Got
like.
our assessor,
We got our
we
guys
got our
sitting in the
assessor
audience.
sitting
When
in the
they
room
might
there.
be, yeah, may be able to answer that as well.
We got our
So.
county assessor sitting right there.
Okay, shed
Right
some
up the
light
bill
on
for
it.
you.
Okay. Yeah, we follow whatever the tax laws are, so yeah, whatever it is,
Okay,
we're
thanks.
here to
Any
follow.
other questions for Laura? Dave?
Yeah, I want to keep this short as possible, so I got like 3 questions. On the safety aspect and the inspection, I believe the regulations are entirely governed by the federal government, aren't they? Because it's through the interstate. I know you mentioned that you talked to the governor on this, but the federal government dictates all the regulations that you have to follow, not the state, isn't that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So for the state agreement was kind of, separate from any federal regulation. So PHMSA obviously federally regulates any infrastructure. The agreement with the state was just to say that we proactively do this, but we still follow all state and federal
Because if we're
regulations.
just inside the state of Michigan, then you'd be following state regulations.
Yeah, and federal, but it's because it's interstate, we would have to do both on the Canadian and US side. So it would be-
2 others, one's on the pipe, once it gets capped, how are you going to inspect a capped pipe?
we run.
Same way as before, can you uncap it, run that sub that you do through the pipes?
I don't think we do internal inspections on our deactivated lines. We just do, I know we run cathodic protection on them, but there's nothing inside of them. They've been clean and
You can
purged.
get back with me on that, so.
Just real briefly, we put nitrogen, inert gas nitrogen, and it's under pressure, but low pressure, like 5 to 10 pounds. And then we monitor that pressure, so. if we
Okay,
get
gotcha.
pressure,
Okay.
Then we know we problem, then we go and inspect.
That's all I got.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm just going to a little editorial. Inbridge is our 3rd largest taxpayer in the county. DT's
Soon to be
1.
first.
Sounds like
ITC is
it.
2 Inbridge.
Yeah, look for
So
that.
people, 20% roughly of our entire SEV is with our utility companies in St. Clair County. So that's how critical that stuff is. So I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
We're going to jump into the fellows from Beam and Beam. The opiate litigation presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Mike Bean. Dan Koster is handing out some PowerPoint presentations, a little more low-tech, but I figured...
You need to get, you got something you need loaded up on
I
there?
don't. But thank you for allowing us to come and present tonight. I have got that PowerPoint presentation, and then I just wanted to explain what we're doing. My firm is Beam and Beam. Dan is with the Sam Bernstein Law Firm, and we're 2 firms also of a 3-firm team. Our 3rd partner is Weitz and Luxembourg from New York. And I wanted to talk to you about the opioid crisis and the litigation that we have brought forth on behalf of several Michigan counties against opioid manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. Of the 83 counties in the state of Michigan, we presently have been retained by 50 of the counties and then several municipalities in addition. What we have found, and feel free to raise your hand at any time if you want to ask a question, feel free to jump in.
Say 50 counties or 15?
50
Thank you.
of the 83. And I expect probably another 10 to 15 more, Commissioner, just with making our rounds. As I said to Dan, I've driven on several roads I've never driven on before in the last 2 months across our great state. But the opioid crisis, we all know. We see it, we've seen it on TV, we've read about it, and the question is why did this happen? It's a very detailed, long answer, but in short, right before 2000, in 1998, one of the companies who manufactures OxyContin, and that's Purdue Pharmaceuticals. OxyContin is a painkiller. It is a form of an opioid. It is very effective in reducing pain. It was originally made for what's called palliative care, end-of-life care, when someone's in extreme pain. They then, just from a dollars and cents standpoint, in 1998, sales when it began were about $50 million a year. Within 2 years, sales on that one pain medication were $1.2 billion. The problem is similar to the tobacco litigation that we saw back in the 90s, these painkillers, these opioids, are incredibly dangerous and cause severe addiction problems. One statistic that we see quite often is if you were to take OxyContin for 8 days straight, say after you had a low back surgery, a wisdom tooth pulled, a knee surgery, 8 days in a row, 13% of those patients that take that opioid develop a severe addiction. And so that is part of what we've seen over the years. And in the handout that I've given you all, on page 24 through about page 30, are St. Clair County specific statistics. And so this epidemic, no one has been spared. You go across the state of Michigan and these numbers are very similar, but just a few of them. In St. Clair County, deaths due to opioid overdoses from 2000 to 2015 were 104. Then, but if you split it up, from 2000 to 2007, there were 32, but from 2008 to 2015, there were 72. So it more than doubled that increase from 2008 to 2015. The next pages have similar corresponding data. On page 25, you see the heroin influence here, and some people would say, well, what does heroin have to do with this? What happens is heroin is also a naturally occurring opioid. It affects the same receptors in the brain. When, say, I go to the doctor, I've had my knee replacement surgery, I don't know my brain chemistry. None of us really do. I get a prescription that's worth 30 days. I go back, I should be pain-free or close to it. And I say to my doctor, I'm still in pain. I think I need more pain medication. I might get a next month worth of pain medication. Go back for the third month, I'm not getting any more pain medication from my primary care physician. Where do I turn? And people have, you've heard the stories. If it's a relative, if it's someone, do I begin to steal or pilfer these pain medications? My doctor's not giving them anymore to me. And a lot of people turn to heroin because it affects the same receptors. On page 25, you see that from 2000 to 2015, there were 76 deaths due to heroin overdoses. But look at the numbers down below. From 2000 to 2007, there were only 11. So that's a 6-time increase of heroin overdoses, and it's directly related to this opioid epidemic that we're dealing with. So then we look at this litigation. What does this litigation serve? You as a county see on the books with regard to your budget how this is affected. My wife's a probate judge. She sits on the Probate Judges Association with Judge Tomlinson here in St. Clair County. They all trade stories about how this has affected their courts, who they see in front of them in court. They're on the front lines. When you look at, say, the county sheriff's department, now, if it's a sheriff's deputy out in a cruiser or it's an EMT in an ambulance, they all carry Narcan, which is the medicine to give someone if they're having an overdose. That's $800 per dose. It directly affects the county budget. That's a simple example. You look at across the state, every county sheriff has dealt with the impact of the jail and who in their jail is now on different types of medications due to their overdose, due to their addiction problems. That's another cost that the county bears. So what we're doing is we have brought a claim, and this is what's called multi-district litigation. It's similar to class action litigation that we've heard about. Class action litigation is when everyone has the same amount of damages. So say, you see one with one of the cable TV providers. We were all affected, we all received a check for $6, or something along those lines. Multi-district litigation is different in that every plaintiff is different and every plaintiff has its own set of damages. This is one thing that's separate and different from the tobacco litigation from the 90s. When the tobacco litigation was resolved in the state of Michigan, the state of Michigan received a large settlement. We were told it was going to be spent in 3 main areas. When the rubber met the road, it really wasn't spent in those 3 areas. One important aspect to this litigation is the damages that St. Clair County receives as part of this litigation will be St. Clair County's. So no one from the state, no one from the nation nationally can come in and say, we think you should spend it here. You know how you've been affected, and so St. Clair County will decide how to assess the problem that it has and has had. Another thing is the damages are not only in the past that you've had to deal with, but into the future with having to tackle this problem. We, with our team of attorneys, we have several of our attorneys actually in northern Michigan today meeting with several counties, assembling damages. We think it'll take about 30 to 35 hours per county of us coming in and helping. So you would not be on your own coming up with these damages. Several counties have very similar damages. The differences might be some counties pay for their own ambulance or provide their own ambulance service. Others are private, things like that. But we've even seen pathologists, medical examiners, asking for new contracts in several counties due to the amount of overdose deaths that they've had to deal with because of this problem. When you look at the statistics, we've all seen the sad story in the news of the plane, the Southwest plane, the engine problem, and the one woman passed away due to the engine detaching. The NTSB is already on site. They're checking every one of those Boeing engines. This crisis is equivalent to a 737 crashing every day in our country. And yet think what would happen if a 737 did crash every day. We would be on top of it. This is what this litigation is serving to do. Multi-district litigation is federal litigation, and it comes into one court. The court is in the Northern District of Ohio. It is in Cleveland. Judge Daniel Polster is the judge. We've already met with him for a few pretrial conferences. The litigation is up and running. Surprisingly, most federal district court judges are pretty close to the vest. He has explained to Well, in January, more than 80 attorneys who were there. There are about 350 plaintiffs right now. And Judge Polster explained that he wanted to see a resolution to this in this calendar year. I think you could have knocked a few of the attorneys over because we're not used to hearing that type of language from federal judges. But Judge Polster basically stated, we know what the problem is. You need to sit down and start discussing and resolving this problem. He said if it was not resolved by the end of this year, that he wanted to try the first, what's called bellwether case in January of 19. It's moving forward. We have still plenty of time to add more plaintiffs to be part of the litigation. What we're doing, some people will ask, well, in Michigan, we have FDA immunity, it's called, that if a drug has passed muster with the Federal Drug Administration, that you can't bring a case regarding it being defective. These medicines are not defective. It's not like an arthritis medicine that gives me a heart attack and they didn't know that. They're very effective. The problem is that they're incredibly addictive and they didn't tell anyone. A few other things with regard to this, we feel as though every county in the state is important to this litigation. One firm, national firm, came in and is representing 2 of the largest counties in the state. Another firm represents another 2 counties. We think it's important to represent everyone who's interested. I know St. Clair is probably 160,000 people, I think, are in St. Clair County. It's about the 12th or 13th largest county in the state. So it's a large county. We've met with Keweenaw County, which is up at the top of the UP, and there's 6,000 residents in Keweenaw County. So everyone's important to this litigation. A few other things about it, it's what's called contingent fee litigation, where there are no costs up front that the county would have to pay. And we would foot all the costs, and then at the end of the litigation, just be repaid those costs. There's no interest added to it or anything like that. With regard to a contingent fee, a lot of times you hear that it's 1/3 or 33%. Here we're charging a contingent fee of 30%. And another part of the litigation is not only are we asking for damages, but we're also asking for what's called injunctive relief, and that's for their behavior to be stopped, curtailed, or changed. And it's already started to bear fruit. And so one of the things that we've asked is if I'm only going to have pain for 7 days, why are you giving me a 30-day prescription when that would give me that much more opportunity is a poor word, but opportunity to develop an addiction. So that's already started. Express Scripts, which is the type of prescription you receive through your health care if you're a UAW member, have already changed this, and they've changed to 7-day prescriptions, which we feel is very helpful. There are also a few other changes. Purdue, which makes OxyContin, is no longer doing direct marketing to primary care physicians. They have stopped that. That's something that we've asked to happen. And so we feel as though the litigation's already started to have an effect, but you will have costs, as you know, into the future battling with this. One of the things we see with a lot of counties is also things in the form of like a drug court. Some of the smaller counties have not been able to afford that. And so this is something that will help them address those issues. One other important part of the litigation is because it's very large and there are many attorneys involved, the judge asks for an executive committee to be formed and then also a steering committee to be formed. Our team of attorneys is on both the executive committee and on the steering committee, and so that we feel is important to help lead this litigation and help protect your interests. Does anyone have any questions?
Bill?
You said that You're going to do it on a contingency, no costs up front, but you would recoup those costs at the end if there is a settlement. How do you determine those costs? What might they be?
Because, Commissioner, they're so duplicative, county by county by county, we wouldn't, they would be split, among all of our clients, but it would be along the lines of a pro rata distribution, so it would be, no one would, a smaller county with fewer people would have probably, fewer costs, whereas if it was your neighbor Macomb County is one of our clients, it's a much larger county.
You mentioned the fact that maybe 30 to 35 hours per county to assess what damages we may be suffering.
Right.
Is that part of those upfront costs that you would be talking about that would recoup at the end?
No, you would not be charged any cost for that.
That's on you.
Yeah, that's on us.
Okay, thank you.
So no cost for that.
Any other questions? David?
Yeah, on the cost, because that's what we do.
Yes, sir.
County commissioners oversee the cost. Do you have an estimated cost of what's going to be recouped as far as the county? If we're going to get on board with this, we need to know what the expense is and also the return, because there's going to be a return.
Right. I don't think, one example I always explain to my clients is when a complaint's filed, that's an example of a cost. $265 to file a complaint. It's a small cost, relatively speaking, but an example of a cost. There would also be costs related to the litigation if it comes down to expert.
I don't want to cut you short because we've got a big meeting.
Sure.
But what I want is actual, do you have any estimated cost?
What you're going to ask for?
If it's $100,000 that the county has to reimburse at the end when this gets done, $100,000, are we going to see $1 million back? Is that?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I want to know,
30%.
for us to get on board with this and justify an expense that we're going to incur.
Right.
And my next question after that, you have 3 companies listed. Those 3 companies, 2 of them have already settled in other states. If those companies, if this gets so large, and you said it's in the federal court in Ohio, if you have these large companies and just throw their hands up, we're going bankrupt, your costs are still going to be there. You win the case in Ohio in federal court, whatever the cost is, and they go bankrupt, there is no money. You're still going to come to us and say, well, we represented you, you still owe us money.
A couple of things. There are about 20 defendants in our litigation. I don't think any of them will be bankrupted.
Right, but from your report right here, you got that those
Right.
3 companies do 90% of it. So that's where you're going to get 90% of your costs. You're not going to get the little guy, and I understand a little bit about what
Sure.
you guys do. You're going to go after the big fish, the ones that actually have the dollars. You're not going to go after the number 30 and get a small piece. No, you're going to go get where you can get the dollars first.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you guys work. And so you're going to go where the money
Right.
is.
I think this, I don't think any of the companies will go bankrupt. They're far too.
If they do go bankrupt,
yeah.
you're still going to want payment from us, correct?
This is a bit of a nuanced argument. We will not, in my career, in all our team's career, none of us have ever asked for costs to be reimbursed if we didn't have a recovery. I am not allowed by our rules of ethics in the state of Michigan to put that in writing because it's in essence, attorneys are not allowed to give their clients loans. And so if Dan's my client and says, I'm destitute, Mr. Beam, can you just give me a loan? We are not allowed to give loans to clients. It's a conflict. And so while it doesn't seem like a loan, saying that we would, it looks as it is a loan. But in my practice and in all of our firm's practice, I've never asked to be reimbursed when I didn't have a recovery.
And I just got one other question then.
Sure.
Because of this lawsuit going forward, the doctors do the individual prescriptions.
Right.
Is this going to include individual doctors?
No.
Negligent doctors?
We looked at that, and it became too cumbersome, and in many ways, it was the distributors we found. And now, if you talk to your primary care physician, I've talked to mine, he stopped providing or prescribing opioids 3 years ago in his practice, and he said there are plenty other pain medications that do the trick that don't have.
Just because we got to continue.
Sure.
I know, with me, I want to know an actual cost or a very good estimate of the cost. before I would want to get on board.
I'm
I
going to
can
make
get
a
that-
recommendation that Carrie just talks to Gary, and then they get with these guys and take a look at it and bring that
Yeah.
information
I can get
back
that
to
to you,
us.
Commissioner, glad to. And then
make
with
sense?
regard
That's what
to,
I was going to ask
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Okay.
with regard to the recovery, the tobacco litigation recovery was $3 billion in the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan received $2 billion. We look at this litigation as very analogous to the
And if I'm
tobacco.
gonna use you guys will get 30%. I'm sure you've already got that in your math and your figures for doing this work. You're gonna get a big chunk of that litigation or recovery costs, so even though, and I'm holding up, but.
Which is a great motivator to do a good job for you.
Yeah. We're going to, we're going to move on. Carrie will get with Gary and then bring some more information back to us.
Okay, that sounds great,
Yeah,
Commissioner.
thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Can
Thank
you
you very
kick
much.
those lights back on? Okay, we're going to jump back into the agenda. Reports of standing special committees. Mr. Greatop.
Yeah, I had one item I wanted to share. If you guys remember, you probably don't because you're getting older than me, at least Duke is getting older. On 12/14/17, the board approved a grant request from Blue Ways at the Metropolitan Planning Commission to get a grant from the Michigan Coastal Zone Management Program. And they tried this 2 years in a row and lost, and they finally this year got a $22,500 grant for the Blue Ways kayak paddle system through the county with a $22,500 match, which is all being done with in-kind service. So it's not going to cost us any dollars, and they'll put $22,500 in there. With that, they'll do their strategic planning, they'll do their Blue Ways passport bifold materials, planning, I think, either 3 to 5 different paddle series through the county, 2 in Port Huron, 1 here, 1 here, things like that. And some Trail Town refreshers and some signage that they need to do through the county. So they've tried, finally on the 3rd try, they got it. So that's it.
Okay, David.
I have nothing.
Greg.
I just, you had sent an email on to us today about the Joint Public Safety Response to the Active Shooter Program, that there's going to be a class, I think, June 6th. I don't know, that we talked about it at our meeting at Public Safety the other day, and there's some training that's going to be going on for, Tom, is it called second responders, right? The police are the first responders if there's an active shooter.
Well, they're still first responders, but they're part of the secondary response to that.
Okay. So they want to get some training for the ambulance people that'll be going in, and for fire departments, some people, our police have training and they do different things, and it's not what our fire departments are used to doing in the ambulance drivers. So there's going to be some activity that's going to be brought up about some funding sources for some vests and some helmets and some gear that can be used for those responders that are going in case there is some type of a shooting situation. It's all over the place, right? So we can't just stick our head in the sand and not be ready in case it happens in our area. So I know that Jeff sent that around to everybody today. So if you get a chance to look at it, it should be an interesting event.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Carl?
As you know, as Human Service Chair, I represent the board on all the governmental aging agencies. I sit on AAA-1B, which is the 6-county metropolitan agency that funnels the federal and state money to counties. I sit on the Commission on Aging, which administers the senior citizen millage for the county. And I'm also on the Council on Aging, which provides the services to our senior citizen population. And there's 2 major events coming up. The first is, this is going to be the 50th anniversary of our Council on Aging. And our Council on Aging was the first county in the state of Michigan to come up with a senior citizen millage. And we are famous for pioneering that concept. And of the 6 counties that are in our AAA 1B area, only 2 of the counties have voted millage, Monroe and St. Clair County. Counties like Macomb, Washtenaw, Oakland do not have senior citizen millages, so it's been a great program for us. At the Commission on Aging, it's time once again to place the millage on the ballot, and we had a meeting yesterday, and they'll be coming forward to the board asking permission for you to put a renewal proposition on the ballot for the August primary election. And finally, we've had a big change in the direction of AAA 1B. We have a brand new executive director, and we're hosting he and some of his key staff here in St. Clair County on Wednesday to meet with us, and so we can learn about our new leader and some of their plans, and have some of our primary agencies talk with them about some of our issues. One of the things that we want to do is be very mindful of the need to cooperate with these other agencies, because the Council on Aging not only uses the millage program, but they use federal and state aging appropriations to provide services in our county.
I see there's a kind of half a day deal with them. There's a 9:30, there's a lunch at 11:30. Is there a certain time that is more important to show up than another on that, would you say?
I would say either come initially to the kickoff of the meeting and get a chance that our new executive director's name is Michael Carson. He's from Illinois, and give commissioners a chance to meet him and hear a little bit about his background. And then we're inviting board members from all of the aging agencies in St. Clair County who can attend a luncheon to also meet Mr. Carson. So either one of those at the beginning of the meeting or at the luncheon would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Greg?
One more thing, I had talked to you earlier about it. I sit on the retirement board, and because I get paid so much money doing that extra, it's putting me into a bad tax burden. I just found that out. Or actually, I can't attend the meetings at the time that they have them. So I'm looking for a replacement. I can't have a alternate in that position, correct, Carrie? Isn't that what we?
Correct. Yeah, an alternate can't vote.
Right, an alternate can't go in and vote. So I'm going to miss probably 60% of the meetings.
So we got to find, long and short, we got to find the replacement for Greg on the retirement board.
It's once a month. It meets on the third Tuesday, 8 o'clock, right across the hall.
Okay.
It's about 2 hours, typically. There's a couple that sneak into 2.5, but usually hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. Well, commissioners, check your schedules and we'll get back with you on that. Anything else, Greg?
Yep, that's it.
Carol?
Thanks.
Howard?
Just a report on a meeting we had out at the landfill regarding a grant request that Senator Pavlov has submitted to the legislature to study the stabilization of the landfill. Commissioner Graytop and I were there, and apparently in Lansing, the senator was getting some pushback and from environmental groups, and they wanted to come out and actually see the operation. I think they had some misconceptions, shall we say, as to what we wanted to do. I think after we finished, they were really happy, one, that they came out. Two, I think they understood more completely why we wanted to do the stabilization study. And the reason for that, for those members of the community, you have to put money into what is called a post-closure fund, which means when you close that landfill, there's got to be funds available to maintain that landfill for, I want to say 30 years, is that correct?
40.
40 years. And so you're talking millions. I think many years ago, I think the number was 25 million. I'm not quite sure what it is now. You may know. But anyway, with our septic bioreactor, we're now looking at the municipal waste being completely decomposed and stabilized in 10 years. So for the county, if we can do this study and we can demonstrate that the septic bioreactor is stabilizing municipal waste in a short duration of time, we should be able to convince them that a 40-year fund isn't really essential for what we do. Now, we're the only county with a septic bioreactor, so consequently, it might be impetus for other counties or other landfills to put it in, because they all need to have money in a post-closure fund. Then the other issue, and this is where the mistake came in, we had put in a request to do an experiment out at the landfill using yard waste. Yard waste right now in Michigan is supposed to go into a dedicated composting facility. We wanted to try an experiment because composting material would decompose and produce methane gas. And we get $800,000 a year from the sale of methane gas to DT Energy. So, you know, we want to keep the gas going. But we wanted to use that composting material, or I should say yard waste material, to provide cover over the septic bioreactor at the end of each evening as cover. And I think once we went over that, Commissioner Graytop, you can chime in any time, they seem very well satisfied and quite impressed with our facility out at the landfill.
I think our goal was to try to move them to a neutral position, and I think when they left there, they were pretty much on a neutral position, and I think that was the goal of the meeting.
Certainly about the yard waste.
Yep.
I think they were all on board on the grant that Senator Pavlo was trying to get to study stabilization of the landfill. So,
Okay.
that's all.
Anything else? Okay, I'm going to take a pass. We're going to jump into the citizens wishing to address the board. First one, I got Michelle D., public awareness. Okay. You want me to come back to you? No. Okay. Lori Sample Wynn, 3443 Stone Street, DTE plant.
Good evening. My name is Lori Sample Wynn. I'm here to talk to you about the proposed DTE plant. I'd like you, as the governing body of St. Clair County, to contact the Michigan Public Service Commission and ask them to review DTE's plans to ensure they meet current law and to question their assertion that natural gas is the best option for our community. DTE is planning to start building a $1 billion natural gas plant in China Township next year to replace 3 coal-burning plants they plan to close between 2020 and 2023. I have great concerns regarding the continued burning of fossil fuels. Though natural gas is cleaner than coal, it still emits carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide into the atmosphere. This contributes to global warming. I believe we should be investing in clean energy like wind and solar. A recent analysis by BW Research Partnership concluded that the use of solar, wind, and higher efficiency standards could supply Michigan with just as much electricity as DTE's proposed natural gas plant, while creating 10 times as many construction jobs and 4 times as many permanent jobs. That's because building renewable energy projects like solar and wind farms require more workers than building a natural gas plant. This report says that building solar, wind, and energy efficiency would generate $213.5 million in local and state tax revenue. This money could be used to repair roads and fund schools. Prices of natural gas are subject to market variabilities. The research shows that investing in renewable energy will provide businesses and families stable electricity while saving money. Michigan has new energy regulations that went into effect last year. DTE's plant does not meet these new regulations as they submitted their plans just before the new regulations were passed. The Public Service Commission could require DTE to refile under these new regulations. I'm asking you to contact the Michigan Public Service Commission and request that DTE resubmit their plans. Crane's Detroit Business reports this can be done because the new law's legislative intent is to offer those of us who pay these electric bills the lowest cost options for future generations. Staff with the MPSC said that while DTE's plan complies with 2008 energy law, it would not comply if refiled under 2016 energy law requirements. I'd like the Michigan Public Service Commission to tell DTE to look at the real possibilities of cost-saving, job-creating, and planet-saving benefits of clean energy. I have copies of the research from the what's the name of it? I'm sorry, the BW Research Partnership, if anybody wants a copy.
I'll just pass them down. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Maxine Wood, 8374 Lake Shore Road, Pound and Humane Society.
Good evening. I just wanted to let you know I have read the proposal on the County of Sanilac Humane Society, and I think that it would be a great asset to this county. The animal pound has been like a real sore point to me since I returned to the St. Clair County. And even though things have improved somewhat, I think we need to have real professionals take care of the animals and still have the pound do their patrolling and getting to animals that need to be picked up. But I think the Sanilac Humane Society has proven their own. I donate to them, even though I'm not in that area. We go to their events. I think it's a well-run organization, and I hope that the Board of Commissioners really give them a chance to show their worth. Thank you.
Next up, Shavana Hernandez, 4836 Westwood Drive, County Partnership with SCSH.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say, there's always, change, any kind of change is scary for anyone, whether it's a county, whether it's a person. None of us, not a single one of us, not the board, not anybody in the audience, no one is perfect. Our sheriff, our undersheriff, our officers, no one is perfect. I think that our sheriff, I think our undersheriff do a fantastic job at the people aspect of it when it comes to our crime. They are doing their jobs daily. They are out there. They are putting themselves on the line, our officers as well. One thing I can say is that they do that job and they do it with due diligence. They stay at it. They don't give up. I think that this partnership possibility for the St. Clair County Sheriff Animal Control, for the partnership with St. Clair County, with Sanilac County Humane Society, is a wonderful opportunity, as I feel it would give our sheriff and our officers the chance to concentrate on what they're good at and let the people that understand animal welfare issues run the facility. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I think it's truly historic to actually have this opportunity to change the way St. Clair County is viewed by so many organizations in animal welfare throughout the entire state. It is a chance for our county to show that we do care about how the animals are treated here. And with the change, there have been some positive changes made, but I agree, let the experts run it. If I'm going to pay county taxes for a service, I want to have the people running that service to be experts in their field. I wouldn't want animal welfare people going to try to arrest people on the street for drug issues, and it's the same as vice versa. So I just want to let you guys know that I fully support this, and I think this is a historic opportunity for St. Clair County. And I love this area, and I think it would truly make it better. Thank you.
Doug Hunter, Lynn Township.
Chairman Bowman, Commissioners. The proposed animal control bid with the Sanilac Humane Society reminds me of a great meal I once had. It looked good, smelled excellent, went down smoothly. But meals, like deals, have to pass the digestion test. The agreement does not pass that litmus exam. We have a system in place that works, is cost negative, actually on occasion it makes a few dollars for the county. Yes, it can be tweaked, and I'm sure, to take care of some past correct discretions, and it has improved. Under the proposal, we submit $268,000, but still maintain the employees, equipment, vehicles, etc. Bear with me. I don't have the esteemed education that you people do, but it just does not make sense. But with my limited abilities, I can see us spending upwards of many more dollars per year on this gamble with no payoff. In the past, I've supported other ventures you have proposed that I felt and believed would benefit our community. This I cannot, as a taxpayer, support. Gentlemen, in the digestion process, this is not just a burp or a hiccup. This is a vomit. Use your dexterity and quash this proposal now. Thank you.
Carol Miller, Animal Control.
Happy birthday, Duke. I want to apologize for my voice. This is the best it's been in 3 weeks. I had pneumonia last time I was here, hence I did not talk to Miss LaFrance. I was chastised in social media for not talking to her, but I consider the source. I just want to recap a little bit about the volunteers and what we've done over the past year. We have had 2 parades, and to get our name out there and expose the sheriff department involvement with animal control so that more people know it's there. It's been great success. It's been great fun. As you saw on March 15th, you had a 14-year-old get up here and speak. We also have a young gal out here who helps us wrap candy canes and all sorts of stuff. We have young children up to people in their 80s volunteering, and these are your county citizens, and we're having fun doing it. We've partnered well with the sheriff and undersheriff, and the entire sheriff department. Actually, they come to our meetings and sneak our cupcakes and cookies and stuff like that. We've also had the Empty the Shelter event, which Mr. Tomian, you were late getting to, unfortunately, but Carrie came and saw how many people we had. There was another Empty the Shelter, and I didn't even ask the sheriff or undersheriff to take and do it because we didn't have any animals. We've got them adopted out that fast. There's hardly any of them in there. The turnover rate of adoptions is wonderful. The save rate is very high. And we have so many people having a great time doing it. And these are your county people. We'd like to stay the way we are and continue to grow and continue to do more things with your voters, your constituents, and involve you guys. We've got a couple things planned. So I hope you stay partnershiped with us. We'd like to do more clinics as well. But with what we're doing now, we just want it to stay as it is because we're growing, and we've only been at this a year, and look at how many changes we've had. So I appreciate all your support. We hope we have your continued support through this next year. Thank you.
Ken Jewell, 8451 Marquette, Wales, Michigan.
Hello, everyone. I'm your animal control officer for St. Clair County. I've been employed at the county since 1995. Over the 20 years of business over there at Animal Control, I've seen a lot of changes there. I mean, a lot. But about 4 or 5 years ago, since the sheriff actually took us over, it's been in a positive direction. He came in, implemented some policies, and it's been moving in a positive direction. I worked underneath 4 administrations there at the county since I've been employed there. And underneath Sheriff Donlin, it's been the best that I have a company to work for. So with that being said, I say we're trying to actually fix animal control. I don't think it's broken. So let Tim Donlin still go in and do his job, and let's move forward.
Renee Ratcliffe, 125 Cuddle, Marysville, SCHA.
Good evening. I don't really have a big speech like everybody else. I just wanted to say that I am a resident and a homeowner of Marysville, Michigan, and I pay my taxes, and I support this partnership between Sand Lake Humane Society and the Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Vicki Kelly, 1208 Wall Street, Port Huron Animal Control.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have been living in the city of Port Huron my entire life. And for my entire life, 36 years of it, I have tried to help better this city and improve it in as many volunteer ways as I can. One of the things I was asked was to help animal control, which puts both my love for animals and the city together. We have worked hard to take care of and do hundreds of wonderful things there. And the staff, our staff, I wouldn't trade any of them. I have seen a staff that is very hardworking and dedicated, but they're most important, they are dedicated to the animals. I have listened to Stephanie and Becky call rescue after rescue to try and help some animal they can't medically help or that needs some more attention. And I don't think it should be changed. I think it needs to stay the same. Please, for us, thank you.
Jamie Aller, Fort Gratiot Animal Control.
Hello, my name is Jamie Aller, and I am a St. Clair resident, and I fully support Sanilac County's bid to partner with our AC. I see no reason that this partnership wouldn't be a wonderful thing for the animals and the community alike. I ask that you please take into consideration all the good that could come of this. It would not only better our facility's ability to administer proper care, but would provide the resources so desperately needed for the well-being of those we've been entrusted to protect. It would essentially not only bring us together as a community, working towards the humane treatment of all animals, as well as providing a place to look after the well-being of all in need of help and rehabilitation in a progressive, empathetic, professional environment. We as a community have a right to an animal control facility that we all can be proud of, that generations to come can be proud of, and one that the animals we all love so much deserve. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. No unfinished business to come before us. Item 11, we did A and B. We're going to move on to C, approval of county disbursements.
This time, I'd like to move to approve the county disbursements for March of 2018 in the amount of $27,252,819.56.
Support.
Discussion on any of them? Roll call.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Chairperson Bone.
Yes. Item D, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority reappointment.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move the appointment of Steve Cooper to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority of Directors representing District 3 for a 3-year term expiring in October 31st, 2020.
Support.
Any discussion on him? All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, item E, we've got the equalization report here in front of us. I don't know if anybody's got any questions for Justin.
I do have a question, but I'll make the motion first if I could.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 18-10, approving the 2018 St. Clair County Equalization Report.
Support.
Justin, you just want to give us some high-level over?
I got one question for you. If you would, please. The Ira Township. Yes. How'd it go up, what is it, over 25% in 1 year?
Yep. That actually was due to personal property.
On what?
It was personal property that was added this year, new personal property. Because there was one in Memphis, let's see, Ira, was
Could I ask
Consumers
what-
Energy.
What page are we looking at?
There's a chart.
Numerous pages, you got a graph right near the end.
What page number is that?
It doesn't have a page number on this one. It's the second to last page. And it went up, 23.85%.
Yep. And that was due to the addition of new personal property by Consumers Energy. That's what it was. It was 40. What do we got here? Assessed value of $46,174,400, and that was, like I said, new personal property that was added to it, and that's what that big increase is there.
Personal property, that'd be for businesses, correct?
Yes.
Consumers did a huge
Consumers.
construction project down on 26 Mile Road, down 30, 40 million, 50, whatever
Yep.
the number.
It was- yeah, that was the-
That
that's the
just
big
goes back to
increase
my
there.
comment about our utility companies. Making no mistake that 20% of our entire SEV roughly comes from our utility companies. And you talk about like the new DTE plant being proposed, it's $1 billion, man. We don't get a crack at $1 billion. Howard?
I guess I'm a little confused here. Justin, I was under the impression that the state eliminated personal property from taxation, and we were no longer deriving revenue from personal property.
That's for eligible manufacturing personal property, and they are working on doing away with that.
I'm sorry.
That's for eligible manufacturing personal property. Something to do with manufacturing. As far as utilities and that we're still that personal property, they're not doing away with that, I guess you could say.
For an example, Howard, I got a manufacturing plant. Prior to this, I had to pay $11,000 a year. I pay zero now for personal property.
I understand that. That's why I'm a little confused. I'm sorry. Is it pipelines and things like that that are?
Utilities aren't subject to.
When they repealed the personal income tax, not personal property tax.
Business personal
They didn't apply it to utility.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
not to utilities.
Is that a fair-
Okay.
That's correct, yes.
Okay,
I
I
still pay it.
understand now. Thank
Yep.
you.
Sorry.
And I want to get you on TV.
Oh, on TV.
Any other questions on the equalization report?
Other questions? Do you want me to touch on anything, or?
How's the trend right now? How's it moving?
We're moving up. Actually, that's a good one. Assessed value.
2 to
we're-
3%?
Assessed values rate about 4.01% increase, and taxable value we're at 3.5% increase. So we're definitely moving on an increase. Last year we had an increase as well. We're still, though, we're looking at 2022, 2023 to reach our values that we were at our highest point in 2008. But we are on the right track as long as things keep moving
Has
this way.
Headley kicked in?
Headley is not kicked in. Now, these values are tentative until approved by the State Tax Commission, but with these values here, we will not be looking at a Headley reduction this year. Again, those are tentative until they're approved.
Justin, I have another question for Justin. You're saying the state equalized value went up 4.1%?
4.01%.
What did the taxable value go up? Because that's what we get revenue from, and people have to pay their property taxes
Right.
on.
In fact, I got the exact percentage here, but it's right around 3.5%.
Now, I was under the impression it was 5% or cost of living, whichever is least. I hadn't realized cost of living had gone up that much.
Oh, this is total taxable value across the county. If you're looking at a per assessment per parcel, oops, that goes up, the rate of inflation, which this year was 2.1%.
2.1?
Yep, or
So
5%.
essentially what I'm getting to, Justin, is taxpayers out there can expect their taxes on their home to go up about 2%.
That's
So they're
correct.
not going to notice much of a change at all. 2%?
No,
on-
just 2% increase.
Yeah.
In taxable
Okay.
value, yep.
Thank
correct.
you.
Okay.
Any other questions on the report at all? Do I have a motion to receive and file it?
Yeah, you've already got it.
Oh, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you,
Okay,
Justin.
Thank you,
moving on.
Commissioners.
Contract approval request for Kevin's Lawn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the agreement with Kevin's Lawn Care for a term of 5/1 of 18 through 10/31 of 18 in the amount not to exceed $20,000 for mowing of the foreclosed properties.
Support?
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Chairperson Bone.
Yes. Item G, the 911 equipment conversion.
I move to approve the purchase of the 911 equipment from West for PFN ESINet connectivity in the amount of $13,923.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Chairperson Bone.
Yes. Item H, the interlocal funding agreement between Macomb
Mr.
and
Chairman,
St. Clair.
at this time, I move to approve the 2017 interlocal agreement between Macomb County and St. Clair County for the Homeland Security Grant Program in the amount of $313,348.
Second?
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Chairperson Bone.
Yes. Item I, the Sheriff's Officer's commissary money expenditure.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the agreement with Martin Construction of Port Huron LLC in the amount of $17,150 from the jail commissary.
Commissary.
How do I pronounce it?
Commissary.
Thank you. Commissary fund for the construction of a video visitation room.
Support.
Any other comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Chairperson
My
Bone.
page.
Yes. Item J, the State of Michigan Medical Marijuana Grant.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the medical marijuana grant for a term of 01/01/2018 through 09/15/2018 in the amount of $45,752.
Support.
Bill.
Do we know if this is going to be a repeat grant every year or every so often, or is this a one-time shot? Because I see that we're doing some equipment, but we have some manpower involved in this too. So is it going to be ongoing? Well, every year will we expect to see the same thing again?
I guess the only thing I can say to that is it's really up to the state of Michigan. They offer us the grant. We've had it in the past, had it in, correct me if I'm wrong, 14 to 15.
Yeah, I think we've had it about 3 years.
Thank you. Okay.
As you well know, they change all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, roll call.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Okay, man. Yes.
Chairperson Bohm.
Yes. Item K, the 2018 budget adjustments.
Is that Danielle's?
Who's got it?
Which one?
Somebody make a-
Yeah, at this time, I'd like to move to approve the 2018 budget adjustments.
Support.
Just give him a kick over there, will you, Bill?
I had to wake him up. He was sleeping.
Give him a Gibbs.
Any discussion on them? Roll call.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Chairperson Bohm.
Yes. The fleet maintenance agreement, item L.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the fleet maintenance agreements with Mobile One Lube Express in an amount not to exceed $25,000, Marysville Tire and Auto in an amount not to exceed $175,000, and First Vehicle Services Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $400,000, each for the term of May 1st, 2018 through April 30th, 2021.
Support.
Howard.
Just a quick question. Do you know how much total we spent on fleet maintenance last year? Danielle? Don't have that off the top of your head.
We can get you that information, though.
Okay, would you please?
Yep.
Do we know how these bids compare with what we've had historically?
These are all vendors we have used in the past. The contracts were up, so it was rebid, and the costs did increase with all of the vendors.
Now that you mentioned, I remember seeing that there's single-digit percentage increases in most of those contracts. Okay, thank you.
Bill.
Commissioner Tommy, if I heard you right, you read 3 names. I have Bill
Ford.
McDonald, 4. Did you read that one?
Bill McDonald Ford?
I did not.
We are not recommending that contract be renewed at this time because of the large increase in price.
It was not in my motion.
Well, it shouldn't be.
We just eliminated it.
Anything else?
I made the motion. You can try and amend it if you want.
Roll call.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Chairperson Bohm.
Yes. Item M, the sale of 3072 Ravenswood.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the sale of 3072 Ravenswood to Jory Investments LLC in the amount of $35,000.
Second?
If you remember, that was a building that county owns, piece of property not in real good shape. We went and solicited bids, and this came back as the highest bidder with no contingencies, so it's going down the road. Okay. Roll call.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner McConnell.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Chairperson Bohm.
Yes. Administrator's report.
We are continuing to work on and move forward with renovations at 2 of our facilities, for Marine City District Court, some safety upgrades as well as upgrades that will be required for our compliance with the indigent defense standards. And we are also getting very close on a proposal for an expansion of our medical examiner's office. We do have draft a preliminary design as well as cost estimates. We are working with McLaren to develop a long-term lease agreement prior to bringing a project to the board for consideration to make sure we will be allowed to stay there for a long period of time. And we are trying to get a good handle on their construction schedule and when we would actually be able to begin our renovations, because we do have to work around their construction. But we are hoping to have something come to the board here, if not in May, in June. Our planning department is hosting some brownfield grant outreach sessions next week. They have one on Monday evening at Sperry's Movie House from 4 to 6, and that is for developers and bankers and investors to explain what the brownfield grant does and how it can help with different projects they have. They are doing a similar session on next Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock here in this building for all government officials, and invitations have been sent out where they can come in, learn about the brownfield grant process, brownfield plans, and how they can help with projects in your communities. They're asking commissioners to get the word out, to invite their local groups, as well as if you know of any investors, developers, or projects going on in your communities that could benefit from brownfield grants or brownfield plan. We are beginning to put together your summer travel schedule. I do believe I did hear from one commissioner with a request for the June meeting. Would you like us to send out notices or to the local communities, or do commissioners want to get with administration on?
Probably get with them. I know June's in Marysville. St. Clair's committed to July meeting, and then a couple others. June's our first one?
Yes, so we'll need an August and September.
Okay.
Next month, we will be bringing forward some revisions to the county's current contract policy. We're finding that there are certain types of agreements that are not well addressed or kind of falling through the cracks of the contract policy. So we have added a couple new provisions, mostly for revenue generating contracts, because there's been some questions from the board in the past on how those are handled. So we will have a policy for your consideration next month. And lastly, next month, the director from Sanilac County Humane Society will be coming in to give a brief presentation regarding their proposal and what they would propose to do and how they would run our shelter. They will be able to answer any questions you have. I know a lot of information has been shared at the meeting. There's a lot of information being shared on social media. Unfortunately, most of what I've seen on social media has been false, so it's a good opportunity to get an accurate picture of what they are proposing to do, and have the board ask questions, and then decide how you may want to proceed.
Howard?
I just wanted to suggest that we look at having one of our summer meetings at the lodge down at Columbus County Park, which is right next to the Columbus Township Hall. Okay. And that it's a great facility, and we're talking about perhaps...
Probably be good to get some of the guys probably haven't seen the facilities down there, so probably wouldn't hurt to
especially
to do an
since we've
outreach to
completed
that.
a new
Yeah.
play
Yep.
area.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, perhaps the August, I can get with Mr. Brochu to see
Sure.
if that's convenient or if
Absolutely.
that can be scheduled for August.
Any other questions for Carrie? Motion for receive and file administrator's report.
Make a motion to receive and file the administrator's report.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Miscellaneous business. I actually have 3 items that I'm going to briefly discuss. Dan Casey, I'm going to bring him in here next month to talk a little bit about what the EDA is doing. If you remember, at one time, I think our EDA dues were around $350,000. They're down to $275 today, somewhere in there.
my first year here, it was 100,000.
It's a few years
But
ago.
they're doing a fantastic
You know what,
job.
I know, Bill, you had a lot of dealings with them, like on the Inn on the Water Street property. I meet with them constantly on the St. Clair Inn project down there. They're playing a extremely critical role today. I mean, let's face it, turn the clock back 6, 7 years ago, they were
Phone
just
wasn't
trying to,
ringing.
phone was ringing, people were going out of business, and today, with all the expansions and those things, so if any time to probably strike is the time is now, it's hot, so it's, you probably have to prop that up and go after it a little bit while that opportunity
Yeah.
really exists. So I'm going to bring him in to talk. Also, just to follow back up on the windmills, as you all know, we had brought in all the different township supervisors. We had different proposals. DTE came in and talked about their alternative energy plans. There's really one county, there's one county that has the proper amount of wind, proper infrastructure. I'm sorry, township, I should recant that, not county. So we actually looked and identified some areas for potential windmill investments, roughly $100 million in SEV to put a wind farm in. But what you run into is you run into the local zoning issues, okay? We can say we'd like to have these investments, but at the end of the day, Dave, you came, obviously from township governance, that if they don't want it, you don't get it. And that's the reality that we're facing with these things. So the chances for us to get windmill investments, probably slim to none, okay? Solar's gonna be the next one that's up, same thing. Sounds great, but it has to go through the local zonings, not in my backyard, okay? So when you run into these things, we can want it, we help facilitate these discussions, but it's out of the county board's control. David?
Just in regards to that, we just had a proposal in Riley Township, and they got turned down because of setback issues for a solar farm potentially in Riley Township. That got turned down, and we are going to be updating our solar. We have a very good ordinance in place, but they came to township and they got turned down.
Yeah. So this is just the reality that we deal with. So when we talk about these investments, certain areas they can go is extremely limited. You just, like the windmills, for example, the ITC transmission line that runs through the western part of the county, there's a specific area where you can locate, because you have to do those in mass. And it was a big opportunity for the county tax base, but on the same token, like I said earlier, we don't have control over that. So that's $100 million. That didn't happen. The solar, for example, the solar farm in Lapeer, when you drive down I-94, 69, I'm sorry, that's $80 million. Okay, I talked to the city manager out there. They have a signed agreement with DTE. But trying to get some of those things, those become sticky wickets where you put those things.
The city gets 400,000 and the county gets 400,000.
Lapeer gets 800 themselves.
800.
800, yeah. So I'd love to have it, and then last thing, Duke, I've been on this board 14 years, and I never remember singing happy birthday to anybody on the podium. So you were the first. That is it. A motion to receive and...
I got one
Okay.
other
yeah.
thing, if I could. I just want to make sure that you get up in the morning, because you're going to have a speech to make tomorrow.
I know.
We have a
Remind me,
Chamber of
7
Commerce
a.m.
meeting in Richmond that we have our neighbors. Candace Miller's going to be there, and his best buddy Mark Hackle's going to be there and have a speech. And I just want to make sure you're there, so I don't have to give a speech.
All right. So,
Okay, I
Has that
move
happened
to...
in the past, David?
Yeah.
I move to receive and file packets that were sent to commissioners, packets at their place, and any other information presented.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Adjournment. Motion.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.